Hey friends, today I made this. It's a realistic M&M. Let me show you how I made it. But first, let me tell you why I made it. Because all good art should have meaning. Adam from North of the Border makes tiny nerdy little things like this realistic M&M sculpt. You might think one of those existing in the universe is enough. But I thought, no, we need more. After all, whoever saw a single M&M? The poor guy must be lonely. Of course, we won't just be copying Adam. We know from the commercials that each M&M color has a different personality.
You don't eat your own kind, it's unnatural.
And the M&M lore has advanced a lot. The M&Ms were cancelled for not being sexy enough and then made an emotional return in a Super Bowl commercial.
I can't believe we were actually put on pause.
The green M&M, you will notice, is no longer wearing sexy boots.
But speaking of sexy M&Ms, I figured we could make a lady friend for North of the Border's lonely red M&M. I'll start by printing out a template to get the size right, and then making a foil ball. By making a ball of foil, I can use less clay, which is expensive. You know, Adam's red M&M is not the only one who's lonely. Making these videos by myself is very lonely, so I was glad when in my last video, I got Boyle Hobby Time to join me. Unfortunately, I was not able to get North of the Border to join me for this video. I was hoping he could give me some advice on combating loneliness when working on a YouTube channel like this. I sent this very cordial email, but for some reason, he left me on red. For the eyes of this M&M sculpt, I got these pre-made eyes off of Amazon to give the sculpture an uncanny level of realism. I experimented with a number of options before deciding on these ones.
I have no mouth and I must scream.
You know, looking up the M&M commercials as research for this video, I realized M&Ms didn't really need any help being disturbing.
I promise I will not eat any more of your friends.
Really?
Now that I'm nearly done embedding the ever-important eyes that M&Ms emote with so much to make up for the lack of other features, we've got to add the next most important thing.
Well, when it comes to breaking spells, usually somebody's got to kiss somebody.
Unfortunately, cutting a hole from the mouth was a little frustrating. Since I didn't plan out appropriately when I shaped the foil core, it got in the way as I tried to howl out an area for the mouth. As for the loneliness, honestly, I think I commit to these kinds of projects as a distraction from my lack of relationships. It's almost like my latest art project is my friend, although this can create a dark cycle, as my projects keep me too busy to socialize with my actual friends. Anyway, now that I have a nicely shaped mouth, we need to fill it with teeth. If I were Adam, I would carefully handcraft a set of molars. But I'm bringing my own unique style to this sculpt, and I like to combine naturally occurring elements into my craft projects. So I'm going to use real teeth. Did you know you can buy a bag of shark teeth off of Amazon? Well, now you know. I sorted all these teeth by size, shape, and style, so now it's just a matter of trying a few styles on the sculpt and seeing what works best. What may surprise you is that actually, these teeth are more lore accurate than North of the Borders. Most of the time, M&Ms are not shown to have teeth at all, except for this one tribal commercial. And those teeth look shockingly similar to the ones I'm adding to green now. If I had seen this commercial sooner, I might have included some of the other details, but it's too late now. What I have now is already looking like a splitting image of the original M&M design. But how can we tell it's supposed to be female? For that, of course, we need to add eyelashes. I'm guessing this is not how the manufacturer of these anticipated them being used. With how the sculpt looks so far, you might think she looks a little hard to love, but hey man, so do I. You know, there are times I feel like a monstrous, shark-toothed M&M. I think many of us feel that way from time to time. It's a human experience to sometimes get overwhelmed by our own flaws or outward ugliness and long for someone who can push through that hard exterior shell. to embrace us anyway and tell us that we're not a monster. Speaking of embracing, how will she embrace her partner Red without some arms? I'll trim some armature wire and stab it into the foil core to provide some structure for her limbs. There's a surprisingly deep rabbit hole of M&M lore on YouTube. There are entire videos debating if M&Ms are cannibals or not, or what parts of them are flesh and which parts are clothing. I'm not sure this topic is really worth thinking that much about, but sometimes we humans think about things that don't warrant it because it's easier than thinking about the things that really matter. I think that's part of why I distract myself from my loneliness with projects like these. People sometimes reject you. Instead of finding someone to embrace me and tell me I'm not a monster, I've had some people confirm all my worst fears and treat me as if I am. But projects like these are comforting, easy, safe. In relationships, you don't always get back out the effort you put in. But for art projects, the more work you put in, the better it turns out. And unlike a person, a painting or sculpture isn't going to leave me. Speaking of the sculpture, it's time for some painting. The nice thing about painting the inside of the mouth red is it's okay if I get some of the paint on the teeth because it just makes them look bloody.
Oh, that's just disturbing.
Unfortunately, the gender of this M&M still isn't clear enough. What can we do besides eyelashes to make her more feminine and delicate? Ah, lipstick, of course. After painting the lips, I'll paint the arms and legs white and give the body a dark wash. You know, I feel like the existence of gendered M&Ms raises a lot of disturbing questions, like, how do they reproduce? Do they lay eggs like reptiles, or do they get pregnant like mammals? On second thought, let's not think about that. Some things do bear more thinking about, though, like using art projects as an escape from loneliness. After projects are over, I get in a slump of feeling like my work was meaningless. That empty feeling is worth investigating. Maybe the reason I feel this way is because nothing can really replace the human need for love. But just like we all need love, we all need to eat. Adam made his M&M eating humans out of a bus like it was a little M&M packet. But I have to apply my own personal style to this, so of course this M&M will be eating a cow. I'm cutting teeth marks out of this plastic toy cow with a hacksaw, and then painting it red so it looks like she just took a bite out of it. Although it would be funny to say this missing part of the cow metaphorically represents the love that's missing from me, I think that's perhaps taking the analogy a bit too far. After painting the cow, I'll go back to green and dry brush on some lighter colors to bring out the highlights and tone down the dark wash. Don't they make such a great couple already? They look like soulmates. I'm glad the red M&M won't be lonely anymore. Unfortunately, they're not likely to ever share the same physical space. I don't even know if Adam kept his sculpture. It's always sad when physical distance gets in the way of friendships. With the final touches of detail added to this sculpt, it's time for some glamour shots and a surprise ending. I thought it would be fun to place this monstrous M&M in the Wild West town diorama from my previous video. Speaking of my last video, thanks to everyone who made it my most liked, watched, and subscribed video. I particularly appreciated everyone who took the time to write some kind comments. At a time of my life when I felt particularly alone and on a losing streak, the positive comments helped encourage me to continue with this YouTube channel, and made me feel less alone. Although this M&M video had a lot of challenges, especially since this is the first clay sculpt I've made in years, I'm pretty happy with how this M&M sculpt turned out. I was worried it would be too similar to Adam's, but I feel like I did a good job of taking the original concept, expanding it, and making it my own. Now Red isn't alone in the world anymore. After all, finding love is hard enough for humans, let alone candy. In the words of the purple M&M.
As a walking, talking candy, my options are pretty limited.
But now that the sculpt is finished, the only thing left to do is destroy it. Because nothing really lasts forever. The grass withers and the flower fades, Just like relationships are temporary and people move on or reject you or break up with you, art is also really temporary. So I'm rinsing off the paint so I can reuse the clay for something else. In this day and age, everything on the internet has such a short lifespan. Whether I destroyed this sculpt or not, it would disappear from the mind of the viewers as soon as the video is over. And the video itself will soon quickly stop getting views and sit unwatched on YouTube servers. So I'll pull out the teeth to use on another project. I'll pull his armature limbs from his foil body. I'll gouge out his eyes to use them in another sculpt. Nothing in life is meant to last forever, and nothing good in life comes without pain and loss.
Look at the mask of my boy.
We have to learn to be okay with that, and to let go when good things end, without being afraid to try again. When a relationship ends, you need to find peace, and then, when you're ready, start building a new one. Just like I'll reuse these materials and the knowledge I've learned to make something better in my next video, you need to learn from how things went with a relationship and the growth it left you with as you look to find someone again. But while you do have friendships, cherish them. If you are with someone, let them know how much you love them. Because even though everything passes away, I believe the impact we have on people can last forever, after the relationship is over, and maybe even into eternity. This has been your host, Holy Cow Creates. See you in the next video as we discuss the great importance of Skibbity Toilet while sculpting one.